Welcome to the Shipping Podcast, where you meet interesting maritime professionals sharing their passion for the shipping industry and their everyday job. I am your host. My name is Lena Gothberg. Hello, listener of the Shipping Podcast. This is episode number 29. It took us 28 episodes to reach to the point where you are going to listen to what a tram sounds like. I live in the city of Gothenburg, and trams, that's what we are famous of. Each tram weighs actually 13 tons. That is why it's hard to avoid the noise of a tram when you are in the city of Gothenburg making an interview for the Shipping Podcast. I'm sorry about that. You will hear the trams in the background. I have tried to take them down, but still, now you know where I'm from. And Happy New Year! In my world, this is the first interview I made in the year of 2016. It was January the 21st, and I met with Niclas Dahl, who is based in Shanghai. But he was in Sweden for the time being, and he kindly agreed to make an interview. We are talking a lot about the Ballast Water Management Convention. Niclas explains it very good in the interview, but in short, it's got to do with the ship offering a free ride for the invasive species and how to stop that. This has been discussed for ages, and after 14 years of complex negotiations, in February 2004, it ended up by the IMO adopting the International Convention for the Control and Management of Ships' Ballast Water and Sediments, which usually is called BMW Convention. However, it doesn't stop there. In order to come in full force and effect, 30 states, representing 35% of the world merchant shipping tonnage, has to ratify the convention. And that hasn't happened since February 2004. In a way, it's very hard for a ship owner to make sure that he follows the regulations when he doesn't even know when the regulations will come into force. As it stands now, 49 states, that is 34.82% of the world tonnage, has actually ratified the convention. But it's not enough. Everyone is waiting for the numbers to come up to 35%. It's close now, but it still hasn't happened. I'm a bit puzzled when I read the list of countries that still hasn't ratified the convention. I would be curious to know why. But since I don't know why, I don't know the reason behind it, I will not tell you which countries hasn't ratified yet. You can easily look it up yourself. I would like to introduce to you Niclas Dahl, Market Unit Manager, Marine Equipment, working for Alfa Laval Marine and Diesel Equipment. Welcome to the Shipping Podcast, Niclas Dahl.
Thank you very much.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Niclas Dahl. I'm 40 years old. I'm a mechanical engineer with specialization in industrial economy from the Swedish Royal Institute in Stockholm. I've been working for Alfa Laval for 17 years and all my time in the marine industry for Alfa Laval.
Okay. Alfa Laval is a listed company on the stock exchange in Stockholm, I think.
Yes.
It's a very old company.
It's a very old company coming from Gustav de Laval. Started up with the separators very, very long time back. And then developed during the year with a traditional industrial portfolio with separators, plate heat exchangers and other equipment. And in 2002, we were introduced to the stock market.
But you are global.
We have a global company where we have sales companies around the world handling, because we think it's very important to be close to the customer. We have production units also around the globe, also depending on different industries and so on. For the marine industry, it also depends very much on the different product types. But for separators and so on, we have mainly in China, India, and also in Poland. And we also have the production in Sweden for separators.
I see. On your website, I could read about the technological leadership that you wish to take upon yourself. How does that show within your company?
I think Alfa Laval is an industrial company and very proud of its product and very product driven. And for us, it's always been a focus on how we can utilize the product in the best way for different applications and finding new opportunities to support our customers and helping them with different solutions, from everything from oil cleaning to water cleaning and for new applications within the environmental sector also.
When I first met you, you were based in Stockholm, and then you were a business manager for a new business area, I think?
For ballast water treatment, yes.
So how did that start?
It started in 2004 that we saw this IMO convention coming in, and we saw it as an opportunity. It felt quite natural for Alfa Laval, who is has been working with water cleaning for a long time, and also very close to the marine industry. So we started to look into this in an early stage to see how can we develop a system for this market. And we made an internal review on all our products to see how can we find the best technology, the best solution for it. Because at that time, it was not really given what was the good solution for these kind of issues. And in an early stage, then we started to cooperate with Wallenius and develop the system together that today is then called Pure Ballast.
So for people who doesn't know what this is all about, so what is the ballast problem?
Yeah, it was in an early stage was recognized that you're moving organisms from different areas. And normally this is not a problem in the sea today, because you have different temperature levels, you have different salinity levels. So there is no way of this organism moving from one area to another. And then you have the ecosystem taking care of this. But of course, when you have the shipping coming in and taking in a lot of ballast water to adjust the ship for cargo, and then it transports over the globe to the other side, and then you come and deballast this water, and then you introduce new species in this. And these new species might not have any natural enemies or anything like that, so then they can grow wild and take over the ecosystem. So this has been seen as a huge problem for many places, or for a long time. And you could also think of that shipping has been going on for so long time, so all the organisms should already be spread. But it's not really how it works, because also vessels going faster, they take more ballast water, they're getting more and more into have the possibility to adjust themselves and survive the organisms. So this has been a big problem and discussed for many years in marine.
So you were given the task to build a business area around that.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a very technical challenge. We're talking about huge amount of water that has to be cleaned almost down to drinking water level. It can be a little bit salty to drink, of course, but the cleanness is extremely high, and you have to remove a big portion of or everything inside this water, because it's enough with a few organisms that then can start to reproduce themselves and so on. So it was an extremely interesting project and a big challenge, where we could start up from the beginning, everything from technology and how to enter this into the market.
So was there a demand from ship owners, or did that come from the regulators, or, I mean?
The demand came very early on from it. It's very much legislation driven in that way. I would say we have discussed with many ship owners and so on, and I think what you find within the shipping is that the ship owners are really interested in finding sustainable shipping, and from that perspective, this is of course also important for them in order how to see how we can continue with this with the shipping, because shipping is one of the most, or if not the most, environmentally friendly way to transport goods on. So that has been a very important factor for them.
And then I understand that there is a ballast water management convention coming up any year.
Exactly.
15 years later. No, but
exactly. No, but I know when we started to build up the business case for this, it was always next year it will be ratified and the convention will enter into force, and sooner or later we will be right of it, of course. But it's taken longer time in order to get that. But I would say that today everyone knows there is a technology to do it. There is all the possibilities. So all the ship owners and vessels are prepared or are installing these kind of systems today.
Wow. You must be extremely proud that you were sort of one of the small bricks in that big puzzle in a way.
Yeah, no, but it was a fantastic period during that time also, because you could also put in the technology challenges with the environmental part, and also building also new business opportunity in the same way. So it was a really win-win for everyone. And we had a great team and a lot of fun to do this, of course.
So you were like in your 30s when you did this?
Yeah, if you calculate back, yes, for sure. That's the. It
was a huge responsibility, but also a sort of a good strategy from your company, I would say then.
Yeah, no, but we were three people who started it up. One from Wallenius, Kalle Tullstedt, and Lena Sundqvist from Alfa Laval. We were in the same age, all of us, and we had extremely fun during this time to build it up from scratch. So it was a big responsibility for all of us, and also a very exciting period.
So what was your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge, there were so many challenges because this was completely breaking new ground. At that time, it was not really clear how this system should be evaluated, what kind of testing methods should be done. It was not even clear what kind of technology would work or not work. So from all of that was something that we had to break new grounds all the time. And at the same time, it was to more or less to build up like a new company in Alfa Laval with how to handle production, technology, suppliers, and all of that. So it was a lot of challenges, but also a good experience and a great learning period for all of us who participated in it.
Has it been a success afterwards?
Yeah, we are one of the leader in this. We were the first one to introduce the system with a certification for IMO certified system. And today it's a big portion of our sales in marine. So for sure. We are still waiting for the ratification, of course, and there is always a discussion about the US Coast Guard when this will happen, and in order also to look into the existing vessels and so on. But it's been a good success, I would say, for Alfa Laval in many aspects. Also, how to learn for us, how to go into new different applications, how to develop these kind of things from scratch, and it's something we also can take learning from when we now enter into new applications and new environmental challenges.
And then now we have moved to Shanghai.
Yes.
What do you do there?
Today I'm what we call market unit manager for marine equipment, and this means that I'm globally responsible for the traditional portfolio such as high-speed separator, plate heat exchangers, freshwater generators, filters, tank cleaning and fuel conditioning modules. This position I had already when I moved to Shanghai. But since around 80% of our sales for capital sales, new buildings, is in Asia, or China, Korea and Japan, it was a quite natural step to say that we need to be closer to the market, be close to the customer, understanding their needs and so on. So since a little bit more than 2 years, I moved out myself with my family to Shanghai to drive this market unit from Shanghai. I still have all my business managers for the different product groups. They are still in Europe. So they are driving this against the development and so on. So I'm taking more the front to the customers and driving that part.
How was it to move to Shanghai from Stockholm?
It was a big, on a personal level, it was of course a big step to do. I have 4 children, a wife, so to go in to look into how we will handle with schools and living and finding a good base. That's of course a complete different things when you move to the other side of the world. I must say it's gone remarkably good, and it's afterwards it was actually a smaller step than I thought in the beginning.
So how old are your children?
I have 4 daughters. The oldest one is 12, and then I have one who is 10, and twins who are 6 years old.
Okay, so you get all the challenges at once.
For sure.
How did you end up in shipping? Where did your shipping interest start?
Yeah, I can't say that I'm born with it. I'm coming from Växjö, Småland, in the middle of the forest, so I did not see the sea from my house. But very early on, I started to be interested in the sea, and also when you did military service in Sweden, you had to select where you wanted to go. And for me, I really wanted to push in to go to the maritime or to the navy part. So I did my military service there on a ship in the engine room for 12 months, living on a ship and so on. So it was, I think there, my interest for shipping and for vessels and so on really started. And then I went to school after that to become a mechanical engineer. And I was living at that time next to Alfa Laval. So it was a very, very easy way to go down and ask. And they had all the possibility in the marine.
So that is how it all started. I see, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes you never know.
No.
And my experience is that either you inherit your interest for shipping or you get into the shipping because your family is there. Or you step on a banana leaf and you're just in there and then you never leave again.
No, exactly. It's a special family in that way, the whole maritime family, so to say. And I started in 98 in Alfa Laval in Marine and never left so far. So Marine in my whole life.
So if I'm a ship owner and I want to buy something from Alfa Laval, what are your products?
We have today 17 different product groups in Alfa Laval. So and it's mainly inside the engine room or for cargo handling. So we're doing everything for fuel. We are cleaning the fuel. We are conditioning the fuel into the engine to make sure that it has the right viscosity, right pressure, and so on. We have heating and cooling, everything from central cooling system on board a ship to heating up the oil before it gets separated. We are using filters for lube oil cleaning and fuel oil cleaning. We make water from seawater to make drinking water on board ships. So it's a big variation, very much located inside the engine room or also for the cargo handling.
And then it doesn't matter what kind of ship I have.
No, I mean, for us, we are normally looking into the biggest size where we talk about vessels about roughly around 1,000 gross ton or bigger, but it's more driven of the engine size of that. But we sell also equipment to luxury yachts or other things like that also. So for us, it's a complete range for all the vessels for sure, but it's different products for different types of vessels, you can say.
So do you cooperate with the engine manufacturers?
We work very closely with MAN, I would say, mainly the two strokes now for new applications, for new types of fuels that are coming into the market, because as a fuel conditioning supplier in that way, we are looking into how we can become the best supplier in the world, how to handle the fuel from the tank to the engine. And then it doesn't matter so much what kind of fuel. We're also working very close to Wärtsilä for different, and it's of course very important for us to understand what directions they are taking so we have the right product and the right needs and demands for them also in the future.
So all these new alternative fuels coming up,
yeah,
it's a very big interest of yours then?
It's very big interest. I think it's really, really exciting because this will also change the shipping in many ways, and it will change for us. And it's much more fun to be part of the change than sitting and waiting for it. So it's something that we have taken a very proactive approach to work on and finding solutions for the new fuels. And there are so many different types of fuels that are now being tested for mainly handling NOx and SOx and from other legislation point of view. So all these kind of fuel have different demands, different characters that are making it more difficult or more easy in different ways. So it's a really, really fun and challenging time for us as a component supplier for this.
When we all heard about the SECA rules being introduced so quickly, most of the ship owners protested. And I would say I am on their side in this, and it should probably have been all over the globe at the same time. But what I can see now is that there's so many new ideas coming up, new things invented and tested and so on. I feel like sometimes I live in an incubator or something where everyone is testing new things.
Yeah.
Are you following that?
I mean, of course, we are following what's going on in the market, all the different initiatives, and seeing how we can help different ship owners, shipyards in providing good solutions for the maritime industry, for sure. That's really our core business. So this is something that has been extremely interesting for us to follow very closely, and also leading in many ways also the development of this, because when it comes to this with the different types of fuels and so on, it's a little bit going back to the ballast part, where you have to have a technical solution for it. During the ballast, it was also a big concern. How can we have this kind of convention if there is no technical solution? And I think the same thing goes now with the new fuel types, to look into how can we solve different technical issues for the new types of fuel as well.
Mm. When you talk about applications, what do you mean by that?
I mean, we try to divide our knowledge within Alfa Laval into different product groups, and then we also slice it as a matrix on different applications. So basically we can use the separators for olive oil, or we can use it for cleaning fuels and so on. And when it comes to cleaning fuel, in that case, it can also be a lot of other products. So we're looking into more the application of oil treatment, or the application of ballast water treatment, or generation of fresh water and so on. Then we don't look at it from a product perspective.
Mm. Yeah, that's innovative in a way.
Yeah, and it gives us also a unique position in Alfa Laval, since we have a so broad portfolio. We normally have good solutions from a technical point of view, and for us it's very important to find what are the best solutions, and not just keeping it strict that it has to be based on this technology. It should be the best technology for the application. Otherwise, in the long term, you will not be competitive, and it will not be a good solution in the long run.
Do you work closely with the classification societies as well?
Of course. I mean, during all this kind of new application development and also product development, it's of course very important for us to have, we need to have marine classified equipment and so on. So to keep a good dialogue with them regarding what are the needs. And I think in many cases it's a two-way dialogue in order for them also to understand fully the technology, and for us to understand it from their perspective. And it also gives us an insight what is going on, even more for new legislations and new initiatives coming into the marine business in the future.
You have been around for, let's say, 10 years then.
Yeah.
What developments have you seen within the industry the last 10 years?
It's a huge development for everything. I think especially when you look into the environmental sector on the maritime part, because if you go back 10 years and you discuss, many of our customers were not that interested or did not really understand. Today this is one of the biggest concern or biggest issues, and it's always on the top of the agenda, so to say. So the mindset has changed, and I think it has been for the last years. The marine industry is of course very sensitive to introduce a lot of new technology and so on, because one of the key factors is to have a robust system and something that you can rely on, because you are depending on the equipment when you're out sailing, and it can be difficult to service the equipment and so on. So I think for that reason the maritime industry have, for that reason, been quite conservative, but they are also now looking into this and understanding the help they get if you are developing the system in the right way, so you can trust it and make sure that you have a robust system.
Yeah. A tricky question. Is it the same minds that have a new mindset, or are there new minds within the industry?
I mean, it's always natural that there will be new minds also for after 10 years or 15 years. But I think all in all, it's it's also very much the same people discussing with each other and changing and also understanding what is important. And I mean, this kind of development I gone through myself as well. And you learn, you get influences from other parties, from everything from customers, competitors, other suppliers in the marine industry. So there is a lot of influences that constantly changing, which I think is very, very good and healthy for the industry.
But my sense is that sort of 10 years ago, it was more the finance department that was in charge within the shipping industry. And now it's the technical department again.
Yeah, I mean, it's economy is always important.
Of course.
It goes. And for us, when you look into this, if you can make the best solution for the customer, that should be in the long run also the cheapest solution. So economy is still an important factor. But I totally agree that a lot of people in the industry are also willing to put down investment for looking into trying out new things. We have a lot of different initiatives with trying out different kind of fuels and finding. All in all, I think it's important for every ship owner to understand what needs do I have as a ship owner, what needs do I have for my types of ships, for the routes that I have, because it's totally different depending on where the ship is going or what kind of cargo it has and so on.
Yeah, but it's also like if you bought a ship 5 years ago, you won't scrap it until 15 years from now.
Yeah.
And a 5-year-old vessel today is sort of a little bit old-fashioned.
Yeah, of course, it drives the new technology coming in. You have much more energy efficiency on the vessels that are delivered today than you had maybe in the past. There is a lot of things going on. So it will constantly change. And I think it's not only in shipping, it's quite natural in the whole world. Everything goes faster and faster, and you are developing more technical solutions in order to do it. And it's a quite natural way of the business in general.
Yeah, I would say like 3 years ago, something like that, when I was with the Institute of Shipping Analysis, everyone was asking the same question. The environmental ships, how many of them are in the order book? And there were very few at that time. 3 years ago, something like that. I don't know how it is now, because I haven't checked that for a long time. But then again, we have a lot of new vessels, and then there are the old vessels.
Yeah.
Which will sooner or later be retired. And then the world fleet get younger and more technical new solutions, and we are getting extremely green in a way.
Yeah.
Compared to where we were.
For sure. I think it's a huge difference today, the ships that are coming out today, than just some years ago, as you mentioned. And the approach Alfa Laval has taken in this is that today, when we are developing new equipment and so on, the most important part for us is to look into how can we reduce energy consumption on all our equipment, how can we optimize our processes and so on. So all in all, and I'm sure that a lot of other companies are doing the same. So it means that you will get a more efficient product coming in, and it's a natural step in the life cycle of a product itself. You're learning more, you understand, and you know where to be able to fine tune. And then, of course, for us, for Alfa Laval, has been a very interesting step, since we have this broad portfolio. We also have the position not only to look at the product itself, but then also to see on all the other, how they interact with each other. And I think there we can see a great potential in the future, not only optimizing the separator itself, but how we operate the complete fuel lines from the tank to the engine. And of course, this is much easier for Alfa Laval to have all the products inside the fuel lines, let's say, in that way.
Mm. How do you see the future of shipping in general?
I see the future in shipping as very bright. I mean, you have a very globalized economy. You have definitely the need of transporting, and I think shipping, as I mentioned before, is one of the most environmental friendly ways to do it. And with new technology solutions and new types of ships and so on, I can only see a very bright future.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm doing this podcast in a way.
Yeah. No, it's very good, and I think it's been very interesting to listen to the other parts also, to seeing their aspects as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate talking to people about this because it's so close to my heart, since I have got the bug as well. But shipping is often looked upon as the invisible industry. not a lot of people without their own maritime family knows about us. How could we change that?
Yeah, I mean, this is, of course, one good way to do it, to get it out. And there are, of course, different ways on how to being heard. And I think this with new technology also makes it interest for even people outside the maritime industry to look into. So this technology change, you will attract a lot of very bright people coming into this industry and also seeing the great future for it. So new technology inventions and other parts can also drive the interest for the whole maritime industry, I'm sure.
I think, by talking to people who shows and represents an interesting job, that might get people interested in becoming a part of the shipping industry. And that is something we need to show more than just hard things within the industry, like a boat or a crane or a port or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are tools that we use.
Yeah. No, but the marine industry is fantastic. It's so many different type of people. There are so many different. It's an extremely global industry in that way. So you get in contact with different culture, and it's definitely never boring. And it's very interesting with new technology, new legislations coming in and driving these kind of things as well. So, of course, in order to get this out for everyone to understand how great it is, it's important to have different, like this podcast and other medias to get the eyes opener for this.
And digitalization, what impact will that have on our industry?
Of course, that's also a very important part to look into how you're with connectivity and these kind of things. How can you operate the systems, maybe remote, or how can you service them or talk to them or these kind of things. So all of this part is also something that we are working extremely much with in also looking into the future. The digitalization of everything is, I think, where you will see the biggest change in the future, because that will really drive how you can change the application and how you can change the way of optimizing the different applications and so on. There's always things you can do on the product itself, but also the way how it's run, how it's controlled, and how we communicate in that way with each other from a technical perspective.
When you deliver a product and an ecosystem to go with it, you can see when it's time for changing parts of it, or are you working with these kind of applications? That is what I mean with applications.
Yeah. No, but they're of course different for different types of products, but you can have products that are where you can see when it's time to do the service or when it's time to change things in order to have the optimum capacity and so on. And there are also products that are more static products that you don't have this indication. But I think in the future it's we are looking into more to how you measure the performance and how can you see and how can you prevent big failure or anything like that in order to work proactive to changing the right parts and doing that. So that's of course a big interest for us and something that we are continuously developing.
So how do you look upon the unmanned ships that are being talked about? Do you think that will be something we can see in our lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, it's definitely possible in the future, and I think we will always go that way to start to look into how can we do it more from an automation point of view. And we already now start to see the first cars going on our roads here without the drivers and so on. So of course the next step will most probably be also to look into the possibility to do that. I think there are some challenges, or quite a lot of challenges, before we see it. So maybe if we get really, really old, we will be part of it.
Because I think that if it's going to be more remote control of the vessels than it is today, because not a lot of ship owners have got that system in place already, the education for people would change. Because we will need other education or people with other background to work within, to come into our industry.
Yeah. No, but the needs also for us as a component supplier has changed quite a lot, from very application engineers and mechanical engineers only And now we also need to look into how can we develop these kind of systems and so on. And of course it will be the same for our customers also to understand these kind of things. When we talk about remote control or connectivity, so this is of course very important for us to give the support, maybe that we can connect to the equipment in that way and see exactly what's going on and give support and doing that rather than controlling the complete system. So it's more a help on to seeing how can we optimize it, how can we learn from this and also make the products better.
I think we are in such an interesting crossroad at the moment.
Yeah.
And I would like to stand on the rooftops and shout about all the cool jobs that are in our industry, because we are actually at the top.
Yeah. No, but it's a lot of changing going on, and it's for anyone who likes technology, shipping or people, this is of course great, and I think most people in the world categorize into some part of that. So it's definitely all the opportunities in the world.
I agree. You have listened to some of the podcasts. Who would you like to listen to the next? Who do you think I should meet? Who does the world need to listen to now?
There are so many interesting characters in the whole industry, and you have interviewed so many different types of people. I would like to listen to someone maybe from the IMO side, from the legislation point of view, and seeing how they are looking into the future and see on the thoughts of that. That would be very, very interesting.
Okay, I will see what I can do.
Thank you very much.
Is there something else you want to add that we haven't spoken about?
No, to summarize some of the part, I mean, we are in an extremely interesting time with so many new innovations, applications coming into. So I'm really hoping to be a big part of this for a long time and staying in the marine family for a very long time. I really love this.
It's so good that you're so enthusiastic, because I meet people who are a bit sad about the financial times we are going through and so on. But I agree with you. I think we have got a very bright future ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, we see, of course, tough times with the financial part, but I think also if you look in the history, it has been a roller coaster in itself, and you have to do the best, and it also gives you time to develop new things and looking into, and for us it's been very important to be a part for looking into long-term solutions. And I think, I mean, to develop these kind of systems and so on, it takes many years. So you will go over different business cycles in that way. So you have to see beyond it, the small downturns in that way.
Okay, thank you very much, Niclas. Thank you for participating, for giving me your time.
Thank you.
I hope to see you in Shanghai sometime.
For sure, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. Niclas Dahl is a very nice and competent member of the maritime family, as you probably have noticed. If you have any questions at all regarding the ballast water or anything else that he has been talking about, please let me know. And I think you should give him a shout out. He was very good in explaining things that I didn't really know a lot about. Okay, I'm packing my suitcase again. When you are listening to this, I'm on my way back from the CMA in Connecticut, USA. I decided to go for the CMA since I have attended the two other big shipping conferences, Posidonia in Piraeus and North Shipping in Oslo. So this CMA shipping was on my bucket list, and I will tell you all about it in the next episode. Today I'm excited, I'm curious, I'm looking forward to meet some old friends and have a lot of fun. I have at least lined up 3 interviews for the Shipping Podcast. You will love them, I promise you. I haven't heard them yet, but I know that there are people you want to listen to. While I am enjoying myself, or rather on a plane going back to Sweden, you need to get to work. You need to help me. Since you haven't been that active up until now, I'm trying a new approach. I'm going to link to the website of the Shipping Podcast, where you can share directly to all your friends the interview that you love the most. Or write a comment, which makes me understand If this is worthwhile, or if I should go back to being quiet and discreet and participate in the old-fashioned shipping conferences again. I am waiting for you to do something for me. This is what I do for you. It's the shipping podcast. And the next one is the 30th. So far, I have had more than 20,000 downloads. And I am so happy for that. But please help me raise the profile of shipping by sharing the knowledge that there is a shipping podcast. And if you are in a position to make decisions on advertising, this is where you should go. The 30th episode is the first one from my trip to London. I know you will appreciate that one as well. So, from me to you, over and out. Thank you for listening to the Shipping Podcast. Don't forget to tell everyone that you meet that there is a shipping podcast where the maritime professionals are talking about their everyday job.